So this isn't the track that you want. So you're looking for predictions.
And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Give me 1 sec.
Welcome to the Mission Control Podcast.
All right. This is cool. I love this intro. Very cool. You can hear?
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today we are going to talk about a rather serious topic, the future. What does the future hold? Today we are going to make some predictions. It is difficult to imagine the state of the world in 100 years. As we have seen before, the world has changed drastically in the past 100 years. In 100 years, I predict that the average man will get his news and entertainment from a variety of sources. Big companies will no longer have a monopoly on the news and entertainment people enjoy. I predict that television sets will get increasingly smaller. I predict that television sets will shrink to the point that they can fit on our wristwatches. I think that in 100 years, there will be film cameras at every street corner. They will be put in place in the name of our safety, but our freedoms will increasingly vanish. We will trade our freedom for safety. We will allow our rights to be eroded because the authorities tell us it will keep our children safe.
All right.
That's it. I'm out.
What an intro.
The future is doomed. Shit.
Adam Stafford, thanks for coming on, man. AKA Squid Eyes.
Thanks for having me.
That's right.
Where did that audio sample come from?
So, as has been said many a time on this podcast, I was falling down the rabbit hole that is YouTube.
Yeah.
And I came across this audio recording that was sent into a radio station anonymously. And supposedly it was from the 1940s. And it was a guy who was going to make some predictions. And then it was supposed to be used in the future to see how it was going to like balance out with how things were when it was listened to. And so it was sent like a year or two ago. And then these guys found it and they're like, all right. So
that's kind of creepy.
Yeah.
It's really bizarre. Yeah.
Yeah. So
there's a lot of that in media in general. Like if you look at a lot of like films, a lot of guys like to pick apart these famous films and show what they've kind of predicted. I think 2001: A Space Odyssey is a big one. It showed the first smartphone apparently.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
I've actually
as a black crystal.
I've actually never seen.
You
I've
haven't
never
seen it?
No.
Get out. Get out.
So I know it's like a staple. I know it's a staple, but
It's
I've
okay,
never...
man. I'm just pretending to like have seen it. I haven't actually seen it.
So we got two. Have you seen it?
Yes, I have seen it. Yes, yeah.
Yeah, true.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
Never seen it.
Well, first of all, I met you. Well, let's just say we know each other through mutual colleagues. Let's just say.
Yeah. Spend a lot of time together.
Yeah, I can usually pick up on certain people that, you know, might be into certain things.
Yeah. Well, I like to call it the spidey sense.
Exactly.
And they say that people who are similar, like naturally, their conversations will kind of just become one.
Yeah.
You align with people. It's pretty crazy.
It's an energy, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
It's more than just the conversation. It's actually the energy, yeah.
In the other words, you met out the back smoking a cone together.
So I've actually never done drugs.
Never done drugs?
No.
You're one of those people, right?
Well,
I felt that.
Ever since I was a kid, I've had like a heart palpitation.
Okay.
And I've got to say, probably in the last like 3 years, it's gone. It's almost gone.
Okay.
Like I pretty much haven't had it since.
Mm-hmm.
But that was always a massively scary thing to me. Like I figured anything like that would trigger it off. Having said that, I do have the occasional Red Bull.
Yeah. The occasional
Shit,
Red Bull?
that stuff could be dangerous, more dangerous than other shit sometimes.
But if you build a tolerance to it,
then you're fine.
Yeah. So you can get like 3/4 of the way to work before you realize you forgot your car.
Yeah.
And then you get back.
I had a Coke for the first time in like a year, a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
And I realized why I stopped.
Sugar. Hey?
I was fucking insane. Just insane for like 6 hours. I don't know how people drink that shit every day, but like you said, tolerance, right? Tolerance.
Yeah, I got a 2-liter bottle in my fridge.
I felt like my heart was
I'll
gonna
finish
stop,
that by
man.
tonight. Yeah.
I was really on edge, like I was driving home and I was like gripping the steering wheel and I'm like, what is wrong? Oh yeah, I had that Coke.
Yeah, I'd actually,
Crazy.
I was talking to some guys the other day and I'd actually really love to, by the end of the year, New Year's resolution, but for the whole year, no sugar.
Yeah.
That includes energy drinks and stuff. And I want to like see how my body and my brain goes, like even first thing in the morning to cut out caffeine and sugar and just see what the vibe is.
You get your energy back. I can guarantee that. You know,
Yeah.
I've seen the light at the end of the tunnel. I took a year off caffeine and all of my energy came back.
My wife is like consistently energetic. Like she gets tired naturally, but like she doesn't eat anything, drink anything bad. So I'm assuming,
Yeah.
you know, there's got to be a correlation there.
Yeah, totally. I would say so,
I
definitely.
am so terrible with sugar and sugary drinks. Like that's literally where my
Yeah,
belly is from. It's just, I'm pretty sure I have like a sugar addiction.
yeah.
It's like I just
say I do.
non-stop sugar.
I'd say I do.
Most people do and they don't know it.
Yeah.
It's only when you try to stop it. Yeah.
The pack of jelly beans we had the other day and just
Yeah.
grabbing jelly beans,
Yeah.
just eating jelly beans.
As I'm talking and as I'm judging other people, I obviously am no angel myself. Yeah, I have a sweet tooth. Do you think it really is genetic what you're predisposed to being addicted to? Because I know my dad has a sweet tooth, but it's a hard one to say.
Look,
well, yeah. No, go on.
I was going to say, I think certain things maybe, and maybe not so much other things. I think everyone has the willpower to not do what their previous generation did.
Yeah.
Like, but I know that both my parents and probably grandparents, actually I know my grandparents smoked cigarettes.
My dad smoked. Yeah.
The smell of burning tobacco, ever since I was a kid, I flip and love it. And my cousins who are like in the next age bracket up, mum's one of 9. So mum's eldest sister's kids are my mum's age kind of thing. So I was kind of like around, my cousins were my mum's age. But anyway, growing up, they smoke still. And just the smell of burning tobacco, people were like, oh, I can't stand it. It's disgusting. I actually love the smell. And I wonder, I'm assuming, I don't know. Maybe I just love it. Maybe I just love burning tobacco. I don't know.
Well, my grandparents back in South Africa owned a tobacco farm.
Yeah, wow.
But I keep thinking about what it would be like back then with the tobacco industry. And you look at all the tobacco now, there's probably so much chemicals in it that when it burns, you're not actually smelling proper tobacco. Whereas back in the olden days and shit, like the 30s and 40s when it was like pure tobacco, the smell would have actually been probably beautiful.
Yeah, before it was all like corporatized and all that stuff. Yeah.
I mean, I hate the smell. I hate smelling other people smoke. And I smoke.
But a lit cigarette smells way better than, let's say, cigarette from someone's jacket when they've been out all night.
Sure. Yeah.
So I think like the lit cigarette smells way better.
Yeah, maybe. No, for some reason, like if I'm not smoking and someone lights up a smoke and I smell it, I'm like, oh, that smells like shit. I better roll my own and smoke it.
Yeah.
When you've had a break from smoking and you smell someone that smokes,
Oh, yeah.
it's really obvious. Yeah.
Yeah, so just don't
Super
stop
obvious.
smoking. Terrible. I'm sorry.
Yeah. That's wicked, man. You produce your own music, so we got a
Yeah.
common thread going.
Yeah.
I feel like I connect with people that are artistic, and that sounds so wanky. Sorry. Yeah. But I think there's like this thing that you share, like this little secret, and you kind of know it. And I felt that off you. I knew you were a creative guy. The second
The secret I have. Are you talking about like the stuff I do with music?
Well, I'm just saying that, you know, I felt that when I first met you.
Sure.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah. People. I think. Like I said, man. I think people who are the same, they just find each other.
Yeah.
It's crazy. People who are the same. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can feel the aura.
Yeah. There's
vibes,
something
like,
about
yeah.
people.
Yeah,
It's like
absolutely, yeah.
attractive. If you're, depressed people hang out with depressed people. People who are super happy hang out with the same people. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. You produce everything yourself. What do you use?
Yeah. So I started I get the first song I ever made, I suppose, was on a I saved up. My first job was stacking shelves at a supermarket, and I would have been 14, so I was just the legal. I think it's 14 and 9 months was the legal age that you could work. Was when I was a kid. I don't know.
Yeah.
So I got my first tax back. That was my first time. I was on like $60 a week, and to me, like that was because I was living with my parents. I didn't have to pay rent. I was going to school, all that sort of stuff. So my first paycheck, my first tax back was like $600 or $700. No, it was $800.
Yeah.
So I went to Harvey Norman and I bought an ePC. It's like a netbook, like a laptop, but it's tiny.
Yeah.
And I downloaded Audacity on that, and
that's what we used to record the first podcast.
Wow. So I used Audacity, and that was my first. All I was doing is I was taking one song and I was taking the next song, and it started, and I would find a point where I would try and beat match them, and then I would try and blend and transition them.
Yep.
That's when it started. And then I guess like my older cousin, I spent a lot of time with him, and he listened to a lot of drum and bass and electronic music and stuff like that. And then years go on and you kind of like dabble in things, and I didn't really pick up like production properly until the last like 2 years probably.
Yeah.
And I can use Logic and Ableton, like seamlessly interchange between the two. I think the cut and paste element of Ableton I prefer. I think instrumentally and like sonically, I think Logic has one up on Ableton for putting together like music as opposed to electronic music.
Yeah.
And that's debatable. Like I'm sure that's like, it's user preference, man. Like,
well, I'm still struggling with Fruity Loops again.
Fruity Loops.
The latest version of Fruity Loops. But Fruity Loops has actually taken that stem to where it was all just, programming those little buttons to be able to put in a lot more of your own, record your own instruments and stuff into it and layer stuff like that as well. It's like almost like the new Pro Tools type thing.
After Audacity, I think I used something called EJ. So it was like, no, it was DJ, DEEJAY.
Wasn't that like a basic kind of, almost like a turntable?
It was like
thing?
The thing I used and remember was like it was like a circular palette thing, and you click it and it comes like a spherical thing that comes out. It may or may not be called EJ, DJ, one of these two.
Yeah.
And you could choose your beats, and then it would like run a sequence. So it'd be like similar to what we have now with like a MIDI control deck or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I remember using.
A DJ is a disc jockey.
Probably type in DJ program. Yeah. I used something called Leaf drums for a long time.
Okay.
And that was just a really basic sequencer. But I would actually use real drum samples, so.
Yeah, cool. So did you record your own?
No, I just got like sound banks off,
Okay.
like of different types of kits.
Yeah.
And I would like resample them, and I would write a lot of my drums that way for real life band situations.
Yeah, I guess. Oh, yeah. That's an app. I don't know.
Looks very similar though. Yeah.
I definitely would have started with just making packs, like unpacking packs and putting them together and arranging them and being like, oh, that's a cool sound. But then like definitely in the last 2 years, I kind of like, I hear all this electronic music out there, and I didn't know, I was driven to the point of insanity. Asked my wife, like I would have sleepless nights. So I'm like, how are they doing that? And it was really healthy for me in the sense that I had to go and learn sound design to find a sound that I wanted. I couldn't just like, it felt like cheating if I was going online and like downloading a full sample pack and going, oh, there's a growl, I'll put the growl in. And it felt like not real.
Yeah.
And I felt like if someone listened to it who was like savvy to the sort of genre I'm making, if there is a genre, I don't really know, but I just felt like they'd go, oh yeah, he's used that from whatever, and then instantly
the free Skrillex pack.
I
downloaded that one.
I've got them all, man.
Exactly. Well, you want to, instead of like copy pasting, you wanted to learn the alphabet yourself and write your own
100%.
shit.
And like reverse engineering is key, man. So like any time that any big producer, like recently, Virtual Riot released a Serum, which is a in program software. It's like a synthesizer with 2 oscillators, and you can start with a basic waveform and literally make it whatever you want with all these incredible effects and stuff.
Yeah.
He released a pack for that with presets, and he wrote it's now not his latest, but frequently latest album called Preset Junkies out of that preset pack.
Yeah.
But the cool thing is I was like, sick. So I bought it, and then I just reverse engineered the whole thing, and I was like, okay, cool. So this is how it sounds like a growl. This is how it's metallic. This is how it sounds wet. This is how it sounds dry. And yeah, it's just hours of pulling your hair out until finally it clicks. But what I've now realized as well is like a lot of dudes out there who are kind of in the light, they do just use sample packs.
Yeah.
And they will just go search YouTube, growl sound, YouTube to MP3, bang, download it, drag and drop. And it's like, okay.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of happy with the whole, it's kind of like hip hop DJs back in the day when they used to do digging, like in crates. So they'd go like looking for vinyl stores, and they'd find the most random vinyls they could find. And then they would like take a sound that they knew no one else had, and then they would grab that and make it their own. It feels like that.
That's how sampling, the whole sampling wave was born out of that, right? Yeah.
And I'm like, I totally love sampling as well. So like, if there's something that I'm like, that's sick, I'm going to take it. But I try to use things that are not already music.
Okay.
If that makes sense. So like, if it's in a song, I'm not going to use it.
Yeah.
Because someone's had that idea before me, and it feels like I'm cheating again.
Yeah.
It's this constant battle in my head.
So like, for example, that sample of that guy talking about technology.
Yeah. So that is...
Where did you actually... What was the source of that? Was it just off a website or...
Yeah. So I was on... Yeah. As I said, I was on YouTube, and I came across it, and I was like... The idea of it, like, it birthed an idea of a song in my head. So I was like, cool with that, because I'm not using that as the musical element to make that song catchy or hooky.
Yeah, it's like an introduction type thing. Yeah.
There was this one that I wanted to use by let's say a famous director of movies, and I don't know copyright, like whether you can say the name or whatever, so I'm just not going to. Say it. It was it was talking about fear, and it was talking about how when you're a kid, what fear is, and then how it develops as you're an adult.
Yeah. And
that was what I was going to use initially.
Okay.
And I showed my wife, as I often do, and she's like, it's cool, but it's intense.
Okay.
It's too dark.
Okay.
And she's like, I feel like if you put this out there, people are going to get this idea of you that your head is in that space. And I didn't want to like...
So how old are you, Adam?
I'm 28.
You're 28.
I'm 28.
So you're in that cusp that I like to think like we saw the internet being birthed.
Yeah.
We saw a lot of new technology, which is now kind of old to most people.
Sure.
Come into fruition.
Yeah.
So, like, for us, even for me and Johnny and I, like, things like technology, Big Brother, privacy, things like that were a common discussion for our age group.
Yeah,
really common.
Because it sort of like developed with us.
It developed with us.
Well, we grew with it, or whichever one you want to put.
And in a way, we grew it. Like,
our
generation grew that and developed that. And
exactly,
Like, you say the word privacy now, and people don't think about, like, when I was a kid, I used to think, like, I've just had a bath, I'm not wearing any clothes, give me some privacy, I'm getting changed. I used to think of, like, in that context. Now I say privacy, it's instantly like internet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
information and data and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. Who knows what I'm doing? Like, that's what I think now. So the actual definition in my head has changed and evolved with me growing up. Definitely.
And I think the creepiest thing is, like, all of our fears we saw, like, slowly manifest into realities.
Yeah.
You know, we said we were, you know, looking at and exploring theories about how, just like that quote, you know, security would be given up for a sense of safety.
Yeah.
Or privacy would be given up for safety.
Yeah.
And we literally saw it play out before us.
Yeah.
But I think what I'm getting at is probably a fear that this sort of millennial generation is so far embedded in it without questioning it that they don't have that foresight. I mean, I think they'll probably question in their own ways, but they didn't see it come into play like we did.
It's like we're saying, you know, they'll question it from a different perspective.
Yeah.
Of that not knowing sort of before.
Yeah.
Or knowing the development of where it came from. You know, like younger generation, you look at anyone born like in the 2000s and shit, they would just, as they grow up, it's just there for them. You know, little kids growing up with iPads and all that sort of stuff. But for us, we actually watched it develop and we sort of saw how it works. We kind of know, in a sense, how it works and how it was developed, why it was developed.
Yeah.
And, you know, younger generations don't see that.
Yeah. I wouldn't go as far to say as that like any future generation's just going to be like completely brainwashed and normalized by it, because I think at the end of the day, people are still. I think the majority of people are either living in complete, like they've got no clue, like absolutely no clue. They're in ignorance is bliss, or they know and they are like, I don't know what to do about it.
Yeah,
potentially. Like, for example,
there's a spectrum. Of But
I don't think people are just like I wouldn't write off a generation saying that like they're completely lost and they're idiots and whatever. Because like,
yes, they are. These fucking kids now.
Old man Johnny over here.
Like you take for example, I will frequently have someone of an older generation than me, and it doesn't even need to be like the next one. It could be the one after that or whatever. And they're like, you guys are all dumb, you're all brainwashed, you're all glued to your phones all day, you know, whatever. And then on the flip side of that, we're like, I didn't do what's happened to the planet, like the climate. I didn't, you know, my generation's speaking up for rights for different people. It's like each generation has their story to tell, and they've got something to leave the next generation. And, you know, like it goes around in circles, kind of.
Exactly, yeah. And eventually, like, our level of what is progressive is nothing compared to what probably younger kids would view as progressive.
Sure.
And I think a lot of us view the older generation as being way too conservative. But for them, that was like, no, these values are important.
Yeah.
So they, like, every generation has a perspective that they're kind of locked into, I think.
Well, you look at, I mean, definitely, like, growing up, your parents would have given you that whole sort of thing, you know, don't spend that much time in front of the TV, you know, read more, do all this sort of stuff. But nowadays it feels more like it's totally changing, where parents are just giving their kids these devices and putting them in front of electronic stuff.
Yeah. I can speak as a parent. I've got two little girls. One's 2, one's just hit 4 months. And my eldest is Eden. And she, like, there are times when my wife and I are exhausted, like physically, mentally, emotionally. We're done for the day. Like, we're done. And it's like, you know, she's had a bath, she's had dinner and da-da-da, and we're like, okay, would you like to watch a Disney movie? And we'll sit down and she can watch a Disney movie. But we are very conscious about, like, I'm not giving her this just to shut her up all the time. Like, it's a reward. She has to work for it. She's allowed, like, roughly 20 minutes a day. If someone's sick, then it like changes. Do you know what I mean? But like, it's a reward thing. But on the flip side of that, I totally hear what you're saying, because you see people in the shops all the time. They're pushing their trolleys, they're doing their thing, or they're out to coffee with their girlfriends or their whatever, and the kids are just.
But there's also a lot of marketing towards you know, younger kids and the younger people.
Yeah.
So, you know, essentially they build like apps that they can give their kids to play with on their phones. And they make like child mode things on phones nowadays, where you can set your phone so you can give it to your kid and they're not going to mess around with your contacts and shit like that. So it feels like there's a lot of catering and marketing towards getting younger generations, I don't know, more accustomed to it.
Sure.
Whether that's intentional or not, I'm not going to say.
Yeah. I guess that's, I think that's just the difference between generations, because, the chat programs that I grew up with are nothing compared to what's out there now. Yeah.
But I mean, when I think about a lot of all the technology and stuff that we have, I mean, you look at what we have in front of us, you think about the amount of like electromagnetic and frequency and all that shit that we always get told about that's actually floating around this room right now.
Yeah.
I think about all the stuff that's floating through our bodies. It's just, and to have, give like a small kid something they have sitting right in front of their face.
I guess
and to have that sort of shit going on.
it's also like we've grown up with it, but it's also so much in its infancy in terms of like long-term health effects, right? Like I sleep next to a Wi-Fi router, like it's less than a foot from my head because it's on my bedside table. Because then I have fast internet in my bedroom. But you know,
I mean that's a whole other argument in it of itself.
I think we just don't know yet.
We just don't know. It hasn't been around long enough for us to know.
We're kind of rolling the dice a bit.
The only issue that I have, and this is a very personal thing, is that we're running to the edge of the cliff. We're like sprinting at it. And it's like, why are the people that say, hey, hang on just a second, why are they always seen as fucking crazy?
Yeah.
Like, why is it weird to say, okay, look, fine, there's no adverse effects of this amount of radiation on the skin at this, whatever.
Yeah.
But what about the accumulated effect over, let's say, 20, 30 years of being around that? Are you going to say without a shadow of a doubt that it's absolutely safe? Like, it doesn't modify or change anything? It's like, I feel like that's the only thing that I feel like we're not, like, it should be okay. It should be okay to say, hang on, and ask some questions. Like, is this too fast? Do we need everybody to be like? Well,
it's the classic sort of the line that everyone sort of references, or the story about how Bill Gates doesn't let his kids spend, you know, he limits his kids' amount of time with devices and all that stuff. And I like to always compare that to space travel. Like, have you ever seen one of the scientists or one of the people that build the rockets go on the rocket?
Never.
No? Yeah.
It's like they're not going to risk themselves.
And technically, like, they're the most qualified person in the whole planet to do it.
Yeah.
But they don't. Elon Musk, he's like an interesting guy if you like have a look at some of what he says about like long and the short of it is he's like, by the time like that switch flicks with AI and technological development, he's like, it's way too late. Like, he's like, we're there now.
Yeah.
He's like, we everyone thinks like it's this like tinfoil hat thing, like in the future, like 2001: A Space Odyssey type, like way away.
Yeah, 1984 type shit. Yeah.
He's like, we're there. We are flipping there right now. It's like, ugh. And you like, dude's smart. Like,
he is. Yeah.
There's that movie Eagle Eye with
Shia LaBeouf.
Shia LaBeouf, yeah. A whole about like that sort of military AI that's essentially controlling everything that's going on, but it's hidden away from the public. And I guarantee that there's some sort of shit like that
100%
going on.
Absolutely. 100%. Yeah. But yeah, like, it's not about flipping the switch. It's almost like the
switch will flip itself.
Yeah.
Not only that, but it's happening now.
Well, there's the whole, like, because I love my AI information and stuff, and the whole big argument is saying that they're saying like AI can never become self-aware because it's always programmed by humans. It's always programmed. There's that whole 3 fail-safes of AI or some shit. I can't remember what it is. We should actually look it up. But
yeah.
But saying that there's almost no possible way that AI can become self-aware because it's all got to be programmed. Everything's written by humans in a way that it's always going to be essentially under our control. Then it becomes more of like a philosophical, I think, moral argument as to whether AI can actually. My argument to that would be that as soon as it sees as what we're telling it to be part of the problem, and its main purpose is to fill out a solution, it will eliminate the problem and go straight to the solution. So whatever the fastest channel, you imagine it like water going down a hill, like erosion and stuff, like whatever the fastest path to take it is, I think it will get to the point where it will decide to take that path. And it, like, when it hits that thing, eventually, surely I think that it will hit a point where it's like, this is a limiting factor, and it will see the end goal positively as a different positive to what we see as positive, maybe. Yeah. But see, I look at that as still being a part of programming.
Sure.
Like, that sort of stuff is still programmed into the AI saying, this is what it needs to do. If it does, you know, A, B, get to C, goes around or stuff. But I think more in the sense of an actual self-aware where an AI will turn around and say, oh, I'm an AI.
Yeah, sure.
And actually almost differentiate itself from a programmed AI. You know, essentially develop a consciousness. And I think
I have
that's-
choice. I have free will.
Yes,
I have choice.
Yes, the whole free will thing. That's almost on the level of like the Big Bang, like what created everything out of nothing. And you know, as much as I'd almost love to see that happen, because then we can fight off robots like Skynet. I almost see that as such a far-fetched thing that could happen, that an AI could actually become self-aware.
Yeah. Yep.
It might never happen.
Yeah,
but it might.
I think it's just like one of the greatest fears when it comes to modern technology. Is people are scared that we can actually create something else.
Somebody I spoke to, I see them frequently. Somebody I spoke to recently said to me that they have this idea or this philosophy that pretty much everything that we are exposed to technology-wise or even innovation-wise isn't new. So like it's been thought up before.
Yeah.
So like you take something like a hoverboard, like just as an example, like it's been around for ages. And his thoughts on technology and innovation and moving forward with things is like, he reckons that we've kind of hit a peak. Not the execution of it, but the thought of it initially.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
I stopped and thought about that for a bit, and I was like, I think I agree maybe. So
Yeah. Definitely. I think things that we think are new, like what are some of the things? Drones, that's been used in warfare for, I would say, decades.
Yeah.
What
is happening out there?
I have no idea. Someone's moaning outside.
Is it a cat?
It's very creepy. No, it's not a cat. It's a human being.
where did you say you got this place from again?
Things like, sat-nav and GPS.
GPS.
That was used by the military.
that's-
The internet itself is a military...
That's exactly what I was going to say. Is a lot of technology we have is developed through military stuff.
Yeah,
Exactly.
And then
yeah.
released later when it's
And
like
then released
got a
later,
purpose.
yeah. When they know that it potentially isn't really a threat, that anyone has this, they water it down, they give it to the rest of us.
So like me and Daryl always say that the technology we have now is like 10 years behind what they actually have.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that's a thing.
Yeah.
I think like I'm one of those people that kind of sits on both sides of the fence with this thing. Like I've had discussions with people before about like, oh, do you reckon if there was like a meteorite like coming in, like absolutely going to hit Earth, like do you reckon they'd tell anyone, or do you reckon they'd just leave it because it'd be safer to leave it, and they just like all the important people like go hide somewhere and then just leave it?
Yeah.
In that side of things, like I'm glad they don't tell me everything that happens because I'd live in a perpetual state of fear.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like
That's exactly what NASA did to the Columbia crew. Like they knew that they were going to break up on entry and they were all going to die, but they didn't tell them.
They didn't say anything, right?
Yeah.
Was that when the engine failed and it just exploded?
No, that was Challenger. That was the
Okay.
early one. This is the one that was coming back in and broke up on entry.
It broke up on
And like,
re-entry. Yeah, that's
and
right.
like I think if like my kids, right, like if something really scary was going to happen and I could protect them from the fear, I'd do it.
Yeah.
Not because I'm lying, not because I'm devious, not because I'm not trying to tell them the truth, but like out of love. And I'm not saying the government loves us. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying like I would.
It's almost like a logical thing to do.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so I think a lot of that happens on the technology side of things. I think, I don't know that necessarily is a good thing. I think like if you've got someone working on something that is so cutting edge, breaking new boundaries and stuff, I think everyone kind of needs to have some sort of say as to like the regulations or like how far are we going to go with it or whatever. Otherwise, you just got people who are just going to go. Oops, we went too far. And
Exactly.
then, like, we've got no say kind of thing.
I think the main problem is, like we were saying before, a lot of it stems from the military. So therefore, there's a really thick veil of secrecy that needs to be around it for the safety of whatever nation has that technology.
Sure.
So I think that is what is really toxic, is that a lot of these new tech is really pioneered by the military, and they're almost obligated to remain silent about it.
So it's kind of like a catch-22 in some ways.
Yeah.
Because they can't really talk about it. And then
They can't, and I think that's part of why it's so toxic, is that the fact that, and that's how it can. I mean, there's you've heard of Black Ops projects, right?
Yeah, sure.
That projects that are so potentially volatile that nobody can know about it, and it's actually worth even killing someone about that information.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I guess the big question around technology is like, where is it going?
Yeah.
So like if you like, what's the end goal? And if it's like that line in Jurassic Park where he's like, do you know the one I'm talking about? He's like, they were so caught up in like trying to work out whether they could do it, they didn't stop to think whether they should do it.
Yeah.
I think it's that whole thing. And they're like, if you live in, I guess if you think that it's all going to come crashing down and everything, like our human rights are being taken and then yeah, damn, it's a big issue. If you are like, well, it's just going to make society more utopian and we're going to like function better and if you live under that, then who cares?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, which side of the fence do you sit on?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Problem is that like, it's just too much, there's not enough convincing information out there to tell me that it's overarchingly going to benefit society.
Right. Yeah.
Speaking of
Here we go.
modern technology, it just popped up on my YouTube today down my wormhole. And these it's called Top 5 Secret Advanced Technologies.
Yep.
There's a whole bunch, but it was this last one here that just, and when I watched it, I sat there and went like, what the fuck? Like it just kind of freaked me out that something like this exists actually. See if I can get that going.
Am I going to go away from this a changed man?
Uh-oh. Doesn't want to work.
The government knows, I guess. Like, we're trying to play it, so.
Well,
They're blocking it. They're onto us.
Need a VPN.
It's like a rocket gun. It's like a massive big machine gun type thing that's got all these rockets on it. And
so is it like an omnidirectional device?
Yes. Yeah, and this thing can just move in any direction. They actually designed it and developed it to shoot.
Vehicle, or MKVL, is designed to shoot down.
Holy fuck.
Yeah, multiple kill thing.
So just fly into a hot spot and let it go.
Yeah.
Wow.
And they reckon they developed it to shoot down nuclear weapons and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But this thing, just the way that it moves,
That's crazy.
it's just so insane.
Or doesn't move. Like, that's scary when it's like using jet engines and it's like dead still.
Yeah.
Like, that's when you know it's legit.
And it's actually
Look at it. It's not even like it gets to a certain point. When it hits a velocity of a certain point, it's not going any higher.
It looks like something out of a video game type thing.
Yeah.
When I look at it like a Space Invader,
just Tom Clancy's the Division.
Yeah.
Just
And
set one of those loose.
That's
Yeah.
fucking weird.
and this massive big gun that just sits on the front of it.
That's crazy.
That's
But-
weird.
But you've seen some of the stuff that DARPA do with AI and
yeah.
that robot that can legitimately run and jump over obstacles.
I saw it, like, you know, that big dog video?
Yeah.
Where it's like the all fours and it's
All
like
fours,
climbing
yeah.
a terrain and like they kick it and it like compensates.
Yep, it
Or
just
like
it just
goes on ice and it just
recalculates.
yeah. I saw that when I was in high school. So
Yeah.
like that's over 10 years ago.
That's 10 years
That's
ago.
10 years, man.
10
And
years
when
of innovation, yeah.
And when I saw that, that was when they were like, oh, this is cool to let the public know that we've had this for however many years.
yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's nuts.
Yeah, they usually use this, like, they send them into bomb sites or they... a pack mule. So they would put supplies on it and just let it
send it in.
run. And
Yeah,
then,
right.
you don't need a physical human to deliver anything.
Cool idea. Like, cool
Yeah.
idea. But, like, going back to the whole, like, how far ahead are we actually?
Yeah.
When I saw that had obviously been, like, declassified as, you know, so how long had that been out then?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And you'll hear what was the company that was mentioned there.
Northrop Grumman.
Lockheed and Martin.
Oh, Lockheed Martin. Yeah,
Lockheed Martin.
They're all the same.
They all bleed into what is basically our aviation industry.
Yeah,
after
right.
A while. And
Military
it's like,
aviation,
Yeah,
yeah.
so who knows? Maybe we're flying these big, giant, fucking fossil fuel, shitty cunt planes,
Oh, but
right? And
which-
there could be a million other ways to travel.
Which company?
you know?
There's one of those military companies that the Bushes are invested in.
Yeah.
I can't remember what the company is now.
Okay. Well, they're invested in a lot of stuff.
Well, which one flew into the buildings? Because they'd have shares in that one.
Okay. Let's take it. Let's wind it all back. Let's put the tinfoil just
right.
on for a little bit.
Okay.
What was the first, I guess, event or anything historical or a current event that kind of got you thinking another way?
It was a video.
It was a video?
Yeah.
Was it Zeitgeist?
Yeah.
Yeah. What a guess!
Endgame.
Was it really Zeitgeist?
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
I didn't know that.
so I'm a Christian.
Okay.
I go to church on Sundays, but like much more than that, I pray, read the Bible, have a relationship with God kind of thing.
Okay.
And so I think I tend to think quite deeply and further, a lot further, maybe than someone who's not, right? In the sense that like I look at the Bible and I go, okay, this is at this point here, this is what happened, or this is their Jewish storytelling interpretation of what happened, etc. And then this is the picture that they paint of what the future looks like. And so as I read that, I'm like, okay, how does that measure up with what I'm seeing? So as a young person growing up, I was kind of already thinking like further down the line for that stuff. Then you got like the classic like Revelations, Antichrist, Mark of the Beast. No one will be able to buy, sell, or trade without the mark and the image of its name, etc. Right? So it was natural for me to see technology and this meld into one, because the more you kind of like look into it, the more it kind of seems to line up.
Yep.
So anyway, I was hanging out with a mate and he's like, dude, I've seen this movie, and he's like, I don't know if I should play it because it really shook me. And I was like, okay, yeah, cool. And he's like, no, seriously, like it started something in me. And I was like, oh, cool, yeah, hit me with it. So yeah, I crashed at his house and we watched it. And after it, I was just like, yeah, I mean, it's the textbook film that everyone refers to, and like the stuff on religion, like, so the thing is, I'll hear something, I'll go, okay, cool, and then I'll cross-check it for myself. There's a lot of stuff in that first, because he does that, the one that I'm talking about, he does it in 3 parts. So it's the first one's on religion, and then it's on 9/11, all the world's a stage.
False flags.
And then
false
the
flags.
third one is like, where's it going to end up?
Yeah.
So the first third of that movie, there are portions of that are accurate, and there are portions that are not.
I agree. Yeah.
So there's like statements where they say things about like, these are all the people that came up to this point and after, and so therefore all of these hold no credit because they all kind of sound the same, and there's the end of the story. Some parts have similarities, other parts don't. Certain facts about Egypt like have already been proven that like those facts aren't correct, blah blah blah, whatever. So the first part, religion wise, I don't turn a blind eye to it. It's not important to me. In the sense, because what he's trying to say is religion is being used against you to use you as a tool for like brainwashing sheep, blah, 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 blah. And I find that being a Christian in 2019, it doesn't do that. Like, if anything, like I'm on the fringe. Like I'm an outcast because people like stereotype you. People are like, you're not like us. You like, they'll see something on the internet and they'll go, all Christians are hateful. You're all hateful. You're all this. You're all that. I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to have anything to do with you. So like, that's the general sound, right? And there's like, I hate to say it, but like, it's quite hard to find good representations of what a Christian should be. It's hard.
Yes. Okay.
And there's a lot of misrepresentation out there.
There's a lot of, you're right. Just to interject, like there are a lot of, I hate this word, but there are a lot of woke Christians that are not buying into the left-right paradigm, that think for themselves, have a direct relationship to God rather than through a church or anything organized. And they don't get a say in all this stuff that happens. Like, you often find that they're pushed to the wayside. And guys like you do exist, that you're Christian, you have a relationship with God, but you also question the fuck out of everything.
I question everything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's
absolutely.
Which is what I thought anyway, even as a kid. I thought that was normal.
Yeah, see,
I was like, this is what you should be doing.
I didn't really grow up with that, so to speak. Like, question things. And that wasn't something that was taught to me or preached to me, or like I was told that I have to not do this. I just didn't.
Yeah. For those that don't know, you can find Zeitgeist probably on YouTube. It's probably up for free. It's like a 3 hour long. It's quite a saga to watch, but The only
And
thing
there's
that multiple. Yeah, there's another one that came out, like addendum that came out after, but it
Moving
really,
forward is another one.
Exactly. It gets your mind in the gear of questioning things. The one thing I don't really like, what's his name? Jacques Fresco, who passed away, right?
Yeah.
I kind of didn't like the fact that they were preaching some sort of utopian thing at the end.
I remember that bit. I fucking love that. I want to be part of that.
Yeah, but
looks like
awesome concept. Awesome concept.
The prince, that's all good, but I still think that has a potential to lead to a lot of evil and shit as well.
Yeah.
But I think what it does get you doing is it gets the juices flowing in terms of that really fishy event, which is 9/11.
Yeah.
And that was a big turning point for me.
Yeah.
That happened when I was in year 11 in high school.
So-
I was one of the very few people that were protesting the Iraq War that followed after that, which had nothing to do with 9/11. They didn't even find the WMDs, which was a crock of shit from the beginning.
They blame Osama bin Laden for the towers going. They go and get Saddam Hussein. Like, they go to a different country and grab a different person.
It made no
retaliation.
sense. Made no sense. The amount of inconsistencies on that day. I don't even want to touch it almost because it just is a whole rabbit hole.
The only thing that I really, I'm not gonna say enjoyed because that doesn't sound good, but the one thing that was entertaining in a sense was the whole Osama boogeyman stuff that they kept pushing after that.
Yeah.
Including all those completely obvious CGI videos and things they put up on Fox News and that even like a little kid could look at it and go, that's fake.
Yeah.
I'd like to kind of put out there, and I think I'm probably speaking for all three of us, is that like that day sucks.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Like so many people died and that shouldn't have died, and it's not okay. Like, so kind of I'm putting that down first because that is primarily how I feel about it, and that's why it's such a thing for me. Is because I feel so like. The level of injustice is just not fair.
It's all about like it was like probably one of the biggest tragedies in our history, and that's why it's almost fair to say that people want to find out who is actually responsible for that.
Yeah,
because to pawn it off on some CGI video to essentially sweep it under the table does not feel like justice to all those people that died.
Absolutely. I mean, I know for a fact that there's probably some people listening that would like cringe at the fact that we're questioning the death of potentially 3,000 people or more, and more to follow after that died of lung diseases from the actual fumes that came out of the buildings. Because remember, 70% of the buildings were made of asbestos. Yeah, because that was still legal at the time. But when we question things, it's not to be edgy or whatever. No. It's because we think that there's an injustice. And that the right people are not being held accountable for that. So.
And it's like you look at facts, and that was the thing that movie. And I didn't just go, okay, I saw this movie, and now that's what I believe. It wasn't like that. It was like, oh, that's not what I was told. And then it spawned this whole thing of like me going digging and diving, and I will be honest, I got to the point after watching that movie where I went too far the other way.
Yep.
So
same here. I think we're all guilty of that.
I lived in fear.
Yep.
Of everything.
Yep.
Because
that's a trap too.
I went too far the other way.
Yeah.
But I looked at it all, and it's just not real. Like, it's just a joke. Like, even to look at it and think about it now, for the holistic thing of it, I'm just like, that's a joke. Like,
pick out one thing that was like, okay, that's just weird about that event. For me, it was
one.
Okay, one. I mean, okay, for me, it was Tower 7, and I know there's a lot of memes around that. Like what was it? Jet fuel can't melt steel beams or whatever. But that building just fell with maybe a very small isolated fire on maybe one or two floors.
And it was holding a bunch of important stuff.
It held like all of the financial records.
It was FBI record. I think it was Building 7 had to do with the FBI's division of investigating corruption or something like that.
Yeah, and that just
which
fell.
looked so convenient to get rid of shit like that.
Yeah, not to mention the countless people that were told not to fly that day, like really important people. Giuliani, like Mayor Giuliani at the time, was nowhere to be seen. Donald Trump happened to be there on the day, and he made a statement out the front, and that was very, okay, I'm going to sound crazy, but it looked CGI to me. And it looked like he wasn't actually present there. There was no... If people want to look up Donald Trump's statement on 9/11 at the scene when it actually happened. Just have a look at it.
The two things like that I kind of a bit of a red flag for me, I suppose, is number one, the people who saw it.
Yep.
Every single one of them says, well, I was doing this and then there was a massive explosion.
And the bomb went
So I
off.
ran outside
Yeah.
and then I looked up and the first plane hit. Everyone, like, that's said over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Right? So that's the first red flag. Second one is humorous. They found the passport of the dude that was flying the plane.
Yep.
But also fuel melts the buildings to the point where they will collapse in a pancake heap.
But a perfectly
every-
a perfectly fucking
Intact.
perfect intact passport was found amongst the ash.
But wasn't this the same thing happened at the plane that went down over
Other side.
Pennsylvania?
Yeah.
Yep, they found
Yeah.
the passports there as well.
And they found the dude who they found that the pilot went to American flight school,
He actually
and
yeah.
the guy was like, the guy couldn't work out his left hand from his right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
But he did,
No
and
way
he did a
possible.
crazy. Anyway,
Yeah, exactly.
they're the two
yeah.
things.
They're the two
we
things.
We could start a
yeah.
weekly podcast on this one topic.
Just
But
on
I think
9/11. Yeah.
The one I want to say the red flag that for that one, but also something that stems to a lot of other events that have occurred since is the whole NORAD standing down or running drills.
Yeah.
And when you look at so many other events that have happened, bombings, shootings, it's always so convenient that people are running drills on those days.
Yeah. So, to my knowledge, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure that 3/4 of the building were told that there was a drill, and there was a lot of people not in that building on that day.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then also the Air Force was doing a drill,
Yep.
and the drill was 2 planes have been hijacked and they're headed for the towers, and people are radioing going, hey, there's an emergency, and they're going, is this real world or is this a training
Yeah.
exercise?
And NORAD's like, no, stand down, it's a drill.
Yeah.
And there's actually supposedly two planes flying over
Yeah.
New York. And like,
I'm not sure if it was Cheney or Rumsfeld that gave the stand down order to NORAD. I think it was Dick Cheney.
Okay.
Yeah, but don't quote me on that. But
that, like-
that was bizarre. But you're right. If you look at a lot of these events, there's always a parallel drill happening alongside. But who was it? I think George Bush literally said, we could never imagine a scenario where planes would
Yeah.
fly into buildings.
Yeah.
And like the Pentagon was running exercise drills up to 5 to a decade, like 10 years before the event,
Yeah.
about planes hitting the Pentagon.
Yeah.
but the
Fucking
thing,
crazy.
The thing with the whole 9/11 is it's essentially, it's like a modern day JFK. It's
Yeah.
a modern day OJ Simpson. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like
We'll never know.
people can argue it to the end of time, but
Yeah.
no one's ever going to know. And it's,
Yeah.
I don't think it's ever going to surface as to what actually happened.
That's why I kind of don't talk about it. Hey, like
Yeah.
I put it in there, stash it in there, and like if my kids
is.
ask, I'm going to tell them what I think.
Yeah.
They can believe what they want.
Yeah.
And I like you. Yeah, it's. I have this thing with conspiracies, right? Is like a conspiracy in itself is the perfect conspiracy because as soon as it's a conspiracy, it's all of it is written off as being a conspiracy, and then like even if there's 100% factual truth, it just says that it's all you're crazy.
Yeah.
You're one of those guys, and it's instantly dismissed, regardless of.
Yeah.
So that's why, like, for example, with my wife and my parents, I said to them, if you kind of take me seriously as a person, do me a favor and just spend 45 minutes watching something. And like after that, take it or leave it, totally up to you. But like if you want to know a bit more about me and why I think along the lines that I do,
Yeah.
have a go at looking at this and just so you know we're aligned on the same page with where
Yeah.
I'm coming from.
I think,
Yeah.
not to go off on a tangent, but I think even the word conspiracy is very loaded. You mentioned the word conspiracy, people immediately have images of either, Bigfoot or aliens, but there are very real world conspiracies that are very real. For example, if me and you came up with a plan to rob Johnny,
Yeah.
we're conspiring.
Yeah.
It's people working together. It's basically what the backbone of this
Well, that
system is,
whole-
people working together, right?
Sure.
Big business, corporation.
Watergate was a conspiracy.
All conspiracy means to me is that there are a bunch of people that colluded to agree to a certain outcome and to try and aim for that, and they work together to achieve a goal. That's all it means.
Yeah.
But when you say conspiracy now, they instantly think that you think that the moon is made of cheese. Like, they look at you like, oh.
And everyone knows it is, so it's like, it's not even a question.
To me, it's a way of thinking. And to me, in a weird way, conspiracy is the ultimate skepticism. You're just not believing anything you're told for now. That, to me, is all it means. I think when it progresses into, really speculation and like theorizing and making assumptions, I think that's where it can get dangerous. And I think that's where a lot of the fear can feed off of that.
Yeah.
So a lot of these people that claim to, I think, never listen to anyone that claim to know what happened. But I think it should be regular practice to like go, okay, I read that this happened, but did it really happen? I'm going to look into it myself and draw what I can from it. It's like, what's wrong with that?
I think I probably on almost every podcast I just reference history is written by the winners.
Yeah.
And people, when it comes to finding out, or like reading history, reading about things that happened, trying to work out through the information that's given what happened, you're only going to really get one side. And if you try to go down and look down the other side and try and work out what's going on, you're either going to find a bunch of stuff that doesn't make sense, that you have no way to actually bring it together, or someone's just going to say, no, that's wrong.
And I agree with what you said. Like, a lot of people think that for some reason, people that think like us, we read something and go, duh, that must be true.
Yeah.
Like, no, I'm equally as skeptical of conspiracies.
Yeah.
But what I do is I actually go, okay, don't shoot the messenger. Let's extrapolate what he's saying, and let's try and find a reference. Did that actually happen?
Yeah.
And you'll find that a lot of it holds weight.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of it. So, yeah, I'm getting really passionate. No, because I'm sick of people thinking that we're fucking idiots for questioning stuff. Like, why do you want to do that?
I think
like,
I can say, like, in the last few years, I've somewhat been silenced by rejection, in the sense that, like, the frustration that you feel of people rejecting you because you think differently, I've taken and gone, okay, well, I don't need to share it then.
Yes.
And then to protect myself somewhat. I remember when I was a teenager, man, and when I kind of came on to, finding out a bunch of, maybe this happened, maybe it didn't. Yeah, people were just like, you're nuts.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to like share with people that I care about. I'm like, this is crazy. Like, look at this stuff.
Yeah.
Like, it's right here to look at.
Yeah.
And they're like, nah, you're nuts.
Yeah, I used to run around high school like, did you know that, Adolf Hitler's planes were fueled by American fuel? And they go, oh, another conspiracy. And I'm like, this is history, motherfucker. This is not a fucking conspiracy.
The whole thing, ISIS being trained by the Americans and have them
all that shit's
get all
real.
their shit from America.
Just look a little further than the surface. Like, why is that so fucking weird?
Okay, so here's a modern day conspiracy which I really loved. And
Oh, fuck it.
I'm ready.
I'm sure that there's ways that you guys can actually get in on this. So America is banning the Chinese Huawei phones,
Right.
in America, and Australia's actually trying to ban the Huawei phones from accessing the Australian networks. And there's a whole, I suppose you could say, conspiracy that the Chinese military and government were involved in the development of these mobile phones. And it's actually come out now in an article that they found that, yes, the Chinese military is actually funding Huawei.
In terms of like spying?
Yeah, with the technology
So
in
like,
the phone.
let's put out
spy.
these phones and spy, essentially.
Yeah.
Is the nutshell. Okay.
Yeah. So essentially, the Chinese are doing what Amazon and Google and Apple and stuff are doing, but it's Chinese, and no one wants China to do it.
Yeah.
I like, to be honest, I don't know about it, so I can't unfortunately chime in on this topic. Okay.
I want to see it. I can't remember where I saw the article.
I did hear a lot of people mentioning that they can't buy. Well, no, they can't register on a network a Huawei phone.
Well, yeah, America's ban is essentially trying to ban Huawei phones in America, and Australia is trying to ban people with Huawei phones from accessing our Australian networks.
Okay.
Because of this conspiracy that the Chinese government is putting spy technology in the phones, and now it's come out that the Chinese military is funding these phones.
Okay, yeah. I have a rule though. I don't listen to anything that I read on a mainstream news site. But no, there's probably like another agenda behind that. I don't know. Who knows?
We'll let you know next podcast.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't
Because
know.
you have like several phones, right? You're not. We had Blackberries for a while, right, Johnny?
Yeah.
We were on the old Blackberry. Yeah, we switch around a lot, but
Yeah,
that's interesting, man. But
it's part of a hobby I have, I guess.
yeah, you switch it up a lot, right?
Yeah, switch it up a lot.
It's good, though.
I just liked I'm excited by innovation and new
Yep.
things, so I like to play with it.
Are you one of those people like you don't like being comfortable? You want to like search for the next plateau, like you want to find the next thing to challenge you? I mix it up a lot as well.
Is Forbes a legit thing?
No, Forbes is bullshit. No.
CIA offers proof Huawei has been
Really?
funded by China's military.
You really going to believe a word the fucking CIA are going to tell you?
Yeah.
The cocaine importing industry?
The CIA
Okay.
says China's security agencies provided funds for Huawei.
I don't think Huawei's doing anything different than any other phone.
Well, that's the way when I looked at it and I said, well, you know, people talk about all these other companies recording voices. Actually, one of my wormholes was talking about Amazon and how they have a group of people that work for Amazon that actually record all the stuff from their Alexa and manually go through the recordings.
Manually?
There's like a team that go through everyone's recordings to find bits and pieces. And then you think, well, China's doing exactly what everyone else is doing, but everyone knows that there's a massive big political conflict between China and the rest of the world.
Yeah.
Interesting. I think we might look back if the world hasn't flipping ended at this kind of time
Yeah.
and be like, that's when cyber warfare really
Was born.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like we might hit a different stage of society where like cyber warfare is not really a thing anymore, and we're like we were at war, but not
Yeah.
guns and killing war. Although we are a lot.
Yeah.
It's like the information war now. Like if you have that information, that data of a certain person, you have essentially super
power.
control over them.
Yeah, power of them. Yeah, yeah. I have a love-hate thing with tech, man. I think for the most part, I love it, but I don't silence myself, I guess, when that little voice comes up in my head that questions it. You know,
this is where the tech,
these are tools.
yeah,
These are tools for change, man. Like you have a powerful thing in your pocket
yeah,
that can change the way people think, that can spread information. We'll get into Assange in a bit. Like, you know, you can... What's that Childish Gambino song? This is America. One of the lines? He says, that's a celly, that's a tool. Like, these are tools, like, for capturing injustice. You know, if something bad's happening, you now have access to share that.
or even not even that. Just like I want to know something. Oh, I know it now.
Yeah.
Like
Crazy. Yeah.
at your fingertips.
Yeah. I think you were going to say something when I cut you off. Sorry.
I was gonna say, it's all about end game,
Yeah.
right? So like, I passionately love technology. I love innovation. I love new stuff. I love robots. I love drones. I love
here.
smart cars. I love new displays that bend and fold and do all these crazy things.
You like creativity within technology.
100%.
So music.
Yeah.
You know.
And I love like seeing people, the lights come on when they're like, oh my gosh. I love what it does for my life. The only thing is end game. So if the end game of it is like none of these things that I fear, I guess is the word, happen in terms of like control. Because at the end of the day, right, like I don't care who knows where I am at what time. Unless you're going to rob me, unless you're going to break into my house and my wife and kids are there and you're going to harm them, then I care. But otherwise, if you know where I live, I don't care. If you know what I search on the internet, I don't care. If you read my messages, I don't care. Like, and maybe not everybody like subscribes to that. I don't.
Yeah.
What I do care about is like, there's this verse in the Bible that says, like, in the end, no one will be able to buy, sell, or trade without a particular device.
The mark of the beast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that may be a physical device. It may not be. And so, like, I guess my antennas are always out for like that as a personal thing. Like, I guess, and it seems to like with privacy and where everything's kind of like developed and what's coming to fruition, it seems to kind of like almost do a bit of this. Whether you subscribe to what is in the Bible as being truthful or not, like that aside, there are like, I don't know, like I think we are moving towards a cashless society.
Yeah.
I think money, gold, silver, all of that, like I don't think it actually carries weight.
Yeah.
I don't think like credits do.
Yep.
Like pieces of information that say that give you permission to gain access to a product or not is what we live our lives on.
Yep.
And so that's my overarching thing is like I guess with this whole topic I kind of like look into the future and go, how does this align with that? And when I see it creepily looking like
it's all falling into
like
into
with
place
businesses like chipping their employees so they can gain access to the building, but also like by using the vending machines and then they don't have to clock in and out of work. See, I love the device of having my driver's license, my phone, my Medicare card, all of my information on one thing, and it's digital and it's always with me. And I love going, here you go, here's this, and it's just all there if it's not abused. I love that idea.
Yeah.
Because how convenient and cool would that be?
Yeah, until your battery dies or you break your phone.
But take away that, like take away the negative implications and all the big conspiracies around it.
That sort of convenience and allows you to move, I suppose, quicker. Through life, I guess. You know, you're not sort of fumbling around. You just got everything's right there.
But even just finding stuff, like we went through this massive mission of trying to get my daughter registered as being alive, and we had her, and she was 2 months old. Or 3 months old, and we only just got her birth certificate, and now she exists.
Yep.
According to the government, but we've had her the whole time, and just stuff like that. Like the inconvenience factor of that is massive.
Yeah.
Or like constantly having to renew your driver's license and take a photo and this and that. Like if you meld all of these things into one thing, and it's the perfect thing because I can see both sides of it. I can see how it's perfectly convenient and everyone would want it. And then I see how like you give it to the wrong person and it's just game over.
Well, that was something that was trying to be introduced into Australia a number of years ago. It's like the universal identification card.
Yeah, just an ID card.
Yeah, which sort of put your driver's license, your tax file, and all that stuff just in one. Essentially, bring it together in one area.
It was too harsh. That's why they're using MyGov as a platform now towards that.
The same with that that health record that they introduced like last year or something.
Where you had to opt out?
You had to opt out of it. Yeah.
Which health record?
So
I'm in.
Yeah. So they essentially it becomes an online database of all your health records from all your GPs or stuff, and they just put it into like an online file.
On the one hand, who cares? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, who cares? Awesomely convenient. If I go to the doctors and go, I've had this, hang on, you've had heart palpitations since you were a kid. Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
So now that I know that you have and that, and all these doctors know, let's do this. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Like I said.
If it's abused. Yeah. But that's where I look at it and go, and everyone's like, no, that's never going to happen.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. But that's exactly what you have to think about is you essentially, you've got that convenience, but then you're so vulnerable to a bad apple doing something wrong. Yeah. And to think that there's no one that's going to do that and that you're not going to be that person.
I think the overarching thing might be like, let's say we are all, let's call ourselves free thinking people, right? Where we take some information, we look at it for what it is, we get it from different sources and we go, okay, all of this information is saying the same thing. That seems to be truthful, right? That's what, like, so let's say in 20 years time, we have this one thing and we are considered as anarchists because it's not in the best interest of, say, a political agenda or something like that. It's not in their best interest to have us freely talking and freely doing things as we want or we like naturally are. So they just turn it off. And then we can't buy food.
Yeah.
We can't drive car. Like we're helpless because whether we like it or not, everything's run on a computer. And so that's the thing is like, it's not the information so much that I care being out there. It's like, if it's all there and everything I need to survive is in that one thing and it gets flicked off because I don't agree to what you're putting out or I don't align with that.
Yeah.
Well, speaking about being, you think about, this is going full conspiracy type, like completely sci-fi conspiracy. But if you think about the way that all that information is being collected, and you think about your Google accounts and all your stuff, your Facebook photos, everything, in essentially a way that an online database of who you are is being created somewhere. And let's just say that there is that self-aware AI that is controlling everything, that AI can run through this database of people and decide which ones are worth having around.
Well, I've always said that right now we're in kind of a hoarding phase of information.
Collect.
Yeah.
It's not, the switch isn't really quite ready to be flicked, but when you combine mass data on people and then feed that into a conscious AI that is all-seeing, you literally have a god, in a way.
It's just like the whole Tower of Babel thing in a way.
Yeah, in a way.
Yeah.
Everything that we were warned about.
If you don't know the story, it's like back in the day, all these people got together to try and build a tower up to heaven.
Up to heaven, yeah.
And like essentially try and go, okay, we didn't need you, God. We're going to do our own thing and we're going to be God. And then all of their languages were confused and they were all separated. The story of that though, I think that like in a way, like that's kind of where Google is now. Like if I want to know something, like I said, it's awesome. I flip and love it. Like I love it. Like I want to know something, bang, there it is. I want to watch something, bang, there it is. I don't watch free to air TV as in what the country lets me watch for free. I haven't watched it for probably years. YouTube is just so awesome.
Yeah.
Because like if you go on my YouTube history, it's like cool cars, cool music, people doing bonsai trees, like just any random specific thing.
Because it's exactly what you want at that time.
Yeah.
You're not sitting through this bullshit that's kind of like, it's not.
It's so cool. It's so cool. Oh,
yeah, totally.
My daughter's into, some specific kid thing. You don't have to watch ABC like 3 hours a day and then find like the 20-minute one show. You can watch like all that one show, or you can find, you want to learn about this? Well, like have a look at this. Or it's so cool, man. And I love documentaries. Nature documentaries are the best.
Yeah.
Because it's like a complete, like takes me out of the world that I'm in and just goes, look how amazing nature is.
Yeah.
But then at the end of it, they always have to go, but climate change. And it's like, oh, like they always make me feel so guilty.
Yeah.
I just had like a total devil's advocate thought about all that as well.
With it.
So if you think about this, where we've got the opportunity to access the movies we want to watch at the time, everything that we want is right there.
Yeah.
I was just thinking about how Spotify works.
Yeah.
And how if you're listening to music on Spotify, it will then go and give you other things
that are
similar.
Yeah.
And if you're essentially, you could look at it as a form of tunnel vision.
Yeah.
Where if you're constantly just getting what you want, you're not actually opening yourself up to
kind of thing.
Other things.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, I've always mentioned that the algorithm bubble is one of the most dangerous things, because you're not being told what you might need to hear.
Because that's
but you're told what you want to hear.
That's why sometimes I enjoy having a few adverts, like in stuff, not because like I actually want to buy something. I don't want to buy a fucking washing powder or something, but essentially it gives you something else to look at and like another perspective. Even if you're going to pull shit on something like that, it's still there, and it's not like. I mean, there's all that stuff is there. The stuff is out there. There's different kinds of music. There's different movies. There's all stuff. And it could, I don't know if it's a negative thing or a positive thing, but to be able to have just what you want at that time, is it?
I definitely see what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why, that's why for me, this is a shameless plug to my wife. Like, she is the devil's advocate for me all the time. In the sense that we're aligned in our vision of like, let's have a family, let's raise girls, let's like have a successful marriage, all of that stuff. And we don't always, but we try to, kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
But like, I will say something and she's like, and I'm like, no, I'm right. Like, and she's like, no, like, because what about this perspective? And then I'm like,
yeah,
it's frustrating, but it's true. Like,
you need
you're
that.
Totally true. Like what you're saying is like,
exactly.
I might not be right.
Exactly.
And if I didn't have that, so like, that's kind of my version of what you're saying with the ads. But like, you got to have that.
Yeah,
I think that balances you out.
The algorithm, you need something to have you question something, even if it's really uncomfortable. Even if you base your whole life around thinking that way, you kind of need someone to question that.
Well, that's something that frustrates me with a lot of pop-up adverts, especially in social media and that if you're just in a whim looking up something on Google, or you're looking at, like when I was looking at buying those microphones, I searched, I was Googling the microphones and stuff, but then I'm swiping through bloody Instagram and the ads for those microphones are popping up. I'm like, that's not what I'm thinking about now. I'm moved on. I want to do something different, yet I'm still getting bombarded with this shit that I was looking at before. It's I don't know. It gets a little bit frustrating. This
That
whole
to me,
sort of targeting.
Algorithms to me are a very low level AI. Like it's no different. Like the fact that it's gathering information about what you might like and your purchasing habits, and then feeding you that to me is a form of intelligence.
I was seriously like, take my hat off and clap at the AI that works my buying habits out.
Yeah.
And my interests on YouTube. Seriously, if you go through my browser history on YouTube, it's literally like forging things, like metal, like manly men with beards.
Forging documents.
Fraudulent act, no. Like manly men with beards, like building things. It'll be like guys in Asia, like doing high-level bonsai. It will be drift cars.
Yeah.
It'll be music production. It'll be people like fails. It will be like, it's just so diverse. Like I would love to see a robot that goes, I know what you're going to think next.
Yeah.
Like, really? Do you?
Yeah, good luck with that.
Because right now I'm into plastic.
Yeah, I'll go into like NASA conspiracies and then deep into like weird occult shit and like numerology and stuff, and then a little bit of Jimmy Kimmel on the side.
I'm in reptilian alien space, right? But then an ad pops up and it's like, did you know you can save $2 a day by downloading this app? Oh, okay. And then you're in that space. Like,
is it weird that as someone that really rallied against the idea of God and Christianity, like I was very much a metalhead, very much, rock and roll, Satan, whatever. But as I get older, the idea of God seems to make a whole lot more sense.
Is that weird for me to hear?
No, is that... Okay, I don't think I really thought of the question really well, but is that how you were? Or were you always brought up... Because basically, I think as of late, in my 30s, I'm 30-something now, I'm not going to say, but if I... Just like with conspiracies where you kind of theorize an idea and you kind of explore that.
Yeah.
When I explore the idea of a God as a creator, as intelligent design, it makes a whole lot more sense to me than science does. And I know that's fucking weird to say.
Okay.
Like, I don't know if I'm just really self-conscious about saying that, but Johnny, you've met me in my most conspiratorial
good word
moods. I don't even know if that's a word, but I've always gone, well, the answer to this is that there's some sort of intelligent design to this.
What's your opinion,
it
Johnny?
cannot just be random.
I mean, I was not raised in any sort of religious sense whatsoever. So I've always had a very, I suppose, scientific, not scientific, like very, not really anything like that. Apparently my parents were religious. Well, they grew up in a religious environment. Myself, my brothers, we were just raised normally. I mean, my dad's a geologist, so he studies rocks and stuff, and this whole sort of like, I suppose you could say the opposite, the whole sort of science type thing. And yeah, it's only sort of in later years, and the one thing that I'll never stop thinking about is the whole Big Bang idea. And that everything that we know came from nothingness. And there was nothing around, and then all of a sudden, there's everything. And to think, like, even on a scientific level, how scientists can't work out how it happens, and it boggles...
Stephen Hawking's book, right?
Like, no one... Like, it just doesn't make any, like, real sense in a scientific term as to how something like that could happen.
My commentary on this would be, I think, broadly speaking, I think a lot of people think a belief in, let's call it a creator, because like I've got my, like, you know, what I know to be God kind of thing. And we've established through this conversation that you are in a different place to me, right? So let's just call it a creator. People think that creation and science are always opposing. And like, it seems like in debates, like the atheist, if you want to call them that, or the person who is the science person, they go in with this idea that like, I'm here to disprove that person because we don't match. But the thing is, like, science, just because there is the creation side of things, that doesn't mean science doesn't exist, because science is the understanding of how things work, right?
Yep.
Like, I know that natural selection takes place because there's evidence for it. I know that, like, you take the common Galapagos Islands, the birds on one island, they've got short, fat beaks to crack the nuts open and get the nuts out. And on the other island, you got the same species of bird with a different beak, and they don't have the nuts there to crack. They got the long flowers to get the pollen out of the flowers, right?
Yeah.
Same bird. So
Yeah.
somewhere in there had to be adaptation. And you see it all the time. But not just that, like everything. Like, science doesn't need to cease to exist just because there's an initiation by someone.
Thank you. Oh, mate, you just summed up what I was fucking thinking. Yeah. They're not mutual things. They're not mutually exclusive.
Mutually exclusive.
Yeah.
And I've always said that, why can't you believe that the initiator was intelligent, but then the evolution that followed was just natural?
See, this is another thing.
Why
right?
does it have to be evolution or the other thing? Like,
But it's like the way, I mean, I have a book that I kind of, essentially what I call my Bible is the Secret History of the World by Jonathan Black, which is an amazing book if you can find it. But it breaks up the whole idea of the mind before matter thing. It's the whole chicken before the egg argument. You know, what came first, the chicken or the egg? And when you're talking about essentially, well, as I'm saying, the creation of everything, that there had to be something that sparked everything. And whether that's actually an intelligent, like, thing, or if it just happened, for something to just happen out of nothing is more on the religious side than it is on the scientific side.
The word religion as well, like, if I can put this out there, it kind of irks me because it has so many stereotypes attached to it.
Yeah.
Like, what I think is it's more about relationship with God, right? So like understanding your creator and knowing and walking alongside them or talking to them or whatever, versus religion. Because if you look at, like, let's take Christianity, right? Very timely, Easter, if we talk a little bit about that.
Yeah.
Religion killed Jesus. So it was the guys that were claiming to be they were the Pharisees, they were the religious officials of the time. They were the ones that, like, decided that Jesus was going to die. So religion, the brand, the business, the machine, it's toxic, I think.
Yeah.
Relation, like understanding things, doing day by day with God or like whatever, that's where there's life. That's where there's something in it for me. Like, you go out to a grown 28-year-old person and go, why? And that's the answer. It's because, and that's the thing. This is the thing, which, like, kind of makes, like, it brings everything into context and perspective for me, is like, if things are created, I have purpose. Like, the fact that we're sitting here having a conversation and then you go all the way back to nothing, like, I think humans deserve better than that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I think your intelligence and your perspective and your perspective and my perspective, which are all different, but like, we're all sitting here in the same place, like having this profound, whatever it is, even just chatting, even like being around each other. Like, we have purpose and we connect, and like, to come from nothing. And it's not a cop-out. It's not a cop-out to say, well, it's too hard to understand, so therefore there must be a God and da-da-da. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, like, what you deep down feel, and you know, and like the part of you that isn't flesh and blood, the consciousness and the emotion, the feeling, and the intricacies, right? That's something that, kind of get a bit lost in it, really. But like, that's the more.
There's something more. Yeah. There's a feeling, there's an intuition there that this is not just random. For me, anyway. It's not just a random... There's purpose behind it. There's cause and effect that led us all to this one point. Like, it's a sense of something grand, like, bigger than yourself. And, yeah, I don't know if that was what you were trying to say. I filled it in for you, but
a lot of, like, Richard Dawkins, he says, like, there's a guy that I like to, he's a theist. His name's John Lennox, and he's a mathematician. I think he's at Oxford or Harvard. I think it's one of them. He's the professional mathematician. Smart dude.
Yeah.
But he's a theist. And they debate each other. And you see Richard Dawkins get so angry, like so frustratingly angry to the point of hatred almost.
Yeah.
And the other dude, John Lennox, who's a theist, he's just like, I'm not like trying to tell you that you're like, he's not attacking him. He's just talking like, and the atheists are just getting so angry and so stressed and but you're so wrong. And at the end of the day, like, I don't know, like he reckons, he says so many different things, but he fails to see that it's not just a cop-out. Like, he thinks because you don't understand it, you put it to this, and then that's the explanation for how you can go to sleep at night, is you think, oh, there's a God, okay, that makes sense, da-da-da. It's not that. Like, a scientific mind, like, I know in myself, for example, like, I have the intelligence to move beyond that. Like, just because something doesn't, like, if I feel not good about something, sometimes I have to put up with that because that's the reality and the truth, right? So, like, I wouldn't just put myself to bed to sleep at night because of something that makes me feel safe or feel like comfortable with a future or reality or whatever. Mm-hmm. Scientists are the same. Like, they have to come to the hard facts, and the hard facts are they don't know. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, they don't know.
Yeah.
They know a lot.
Yeah.
They know a lot of stuff. They know everything in the observable universe because they can observe it.
Yep.
And touch it and taste it and smell it and see it and whatever. Mm-hmm. But, like, you get to that one point, the initial thing.
Yep.
Yeah,
I don't know.
That was Stephen Hawking's, like, almost the finishing line in one of his books was it just is, because they don't have the answers, so it's just like it just is.
Yeah, because it can happen, it will happen. Yeah,
man, that's very interesting. But I'm glad that you are able to be so open about that.
Well, the thing is, right, like, I'm very much like, I don't want to. There's, like I said before, there's a lot of misrepresentation out there. So I think that people who are normal, people who are, like, not nuts, I think they somewhat need to step up and let people know that we're not. Yeah, I think it's important.
Yeah.
Because how am I going to help somebody else, like, find anything if I'm nuts, or if I'm, like, completely, like, there are some bad examples out there, and I'm not going to throw any names out there, but there are some real bad ones.
Yeah.
Who call themselves this and they're not.
Yeah.
They hate people. They hate them.
Yeah.
Like, absolutely hate people. They like. I'm just like, sometimes you just look at it, he's like, are we reading the same book? Like,
yeah.
like, are we getting our facts from the same? Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
But, like, the point is, like, yeah, I'll be open about it because
that's the only way to be, I feel.
And I also like that you got to be tactful. Like, you got to pick and choose your times. Like I'm not going to sit down and talk to someone straight out about, like, X, Y, and Z if they not in a place to receive it. I got to know that person. I got to know, like, maybe they've just had a car accident and they're broke at the moment and stuff's really hard for them. And, like, I'm just going to start shoving crap down their throat. No way.
Exactly. I don't signal. I call that signaling. You know, when you think you have advice that they need to hear, or you know a certain truth that they might not know, or you know what the right path is.
Like, I'll step up if I'm someone's friend. Like, if I'm your friend, right, and you, like, I see you walking down a path that's going to cause you harm, I'm going to say, bro, like, pull your head in. Yeah. Like, it's not a good idea. I'm going to say stuff like that.
Yep.
And, like, it's just like you would a kid. Like, I'm going to touch a hot oven. Oh, yeah, go for it. No worries. Like, no, you're going to hurt yourself if you touch the oven. Like, there still needs to be that, like, but that's just people being people. You know, like, that's just being real with people.
Yeah. That comes under that whole almost common sense umbrella, which is Fairly lost nowadays, I feel, the whole common sense thing.
You cynical bastard.
Yeah. I'm too old. I'm too old now.
No, you're
Fuck, I don't know.
not. You always say that shit.
Nah,
You're not too
nah,
old.
nah.
No. Yeah, man. I feel like I want to talk way more. Does anyone have anything else they want to bring up that's really been irking them? Anything interesting?
Hey, look, I got something. I got a little something.
I get overwhelmed. I have so much I want to say, but I can't.
Yeah,
begin.
sure.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, I knew I was coming here
Okay.
tonight, so I was like,
Thank you for coming, by the way.
it's
Taking time away from your
been so
beautiful
cool.
family.
Yeah, it's been so cool. They know I'm here, and
Yeah.
they like totally released me to do it. So.
Okay. They were like celebrating silently.
No. My wife has spent the day like chilling out with her family, doing like cheese factories and all that sort of fun stuff out in
sounds
Swan Valley.
Yep.
So like, she's great.
Yeah.
But I'm really blessed in the sense that Brianna very much supports my creative, like things that detract from the family. I make an effort not to do, and if I do them, she will tell me don't do them.
Yeah.
And this is the impact that it has on the family, and that's why, even though you enjoy that thing, like this is the outcome. And if you do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
we'll have those discussions when it comes to music or my creative outlet. She's like, yeah, I'm like, that's unrestricted. That's who you are. I can't bottle that. Just like I can't bottle her with her creative,
Yeah.
it's cool. It's very cool. She's cool
Yeah.
like that. Yeah. So like I said, I knew I was coming tonight and I was thinking about some stuff, but, going to the whole end times thing,
Okay.
tinfoil hat back on.
No, this is my pocket.
Right.
I love being
So
in this
going
pocket.
back to that whole end times thing,
Okay, hit me.
we've been talking about the Bible and stuff, and you look at it like, so people will argue different things about what it is and what it says and different things like that. We know that it's one of, and correct me if I'm wrong, but could be the oldest like historical text document, like second to like cuneiform type something or other, that
Like
has multiple
Sanskrit.
versions of itself,
Yeah.
and they all say the same thing, if that makes sense.
So explain
like-
cuneiform. That's the old.
So that's where
From Mesopotamia?
Mesopotamia,
Yeah.
they'd get a piece of clay. They'd make clay, and then they'd get a reed, and then they would
Scratch it,
different shapes of the reed.
Yeah.
Would be language. So like the earliest form of written language, I believe, is cuneiform writing. Mm-hmm. I could be wrong.
These cuneiform tablets that they unearthed, right?
Yeah.
These clay,
Yeah.
stone clay
But
tablets. Yeah.
with the Bible, for example, it's a document that they've taken. It's found all over the place, and it all says the same stuff. And I get like there's a whole world that you could go into. You could have a whole like 10-hour discussion about like who decided what's in it and did it. But putting that aside, right? We're talking about the end times and stuff. Like the Bible, the Old Testament is like what happened, but the way stories were told was like that's how history was shared. So you'd tell stories. It was storytelling, right? And then the New Testament, which is like Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, Acts, it's letters to cities or like to people. So Romans, that was the people living in Rome. Thessalonians was the people living in Thessalonica, I think, et cetera.
Yep.
Corinthians is to the people living in Corinth.
Yeah.
So it was written as it was seen and sent to them and like whatever. Anyway, there's this book that's, I think it's in John and goes to Revelations as well. So it's like what was to come. And it talks about the end times and when the world's going to end and and all of that sort of stuff. And it says, there's this line in there that's crazy because as soon as you start looking into it, your brain just explodes. But it says, as it was in the times of Noah, so shall it be in the end days. And so if you look at what is it in the times of Noah, you go back to the whole flood thing.
Great flood. Yeah.
And then it's like, why was there a flood? Because there was sin on the earth. Why was there sin on the earth? So you go back into that thing. But there's this verse in Genesis 6 verses 4, or just in Genesis 6 that says, the sons of God, as in angels or heavenly beings, saw the daughters of men and saw that they were fair. And so they were with them.
They started having sex with them.
And they had kids.
Yes. Holy shit.
Right? This is what it says. They had kids and they were called the Nephilim. Right?
Yes.
And it says they were the heroes of old and the men of renown. And so essentially demigods, right? So like you got these interdimensional other planetary whatevers being with women and then having these offspring. And you go into every different history, right? Like you go to like all over the earth and there's like Hercules,
Yeah.
Achilles, like all these dudes that were like super badass, and they had these crazy things that they could do, but it's all from like they have all got their different versions of essentially a demigod type thing, and it's super interesting if you start looking into it about like bloodlines and different things and what can go on and progress and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And I guess I wanted to bring it up and see what your take on it was.
So the Nephilim, they were giants, right? Am I correct me if I'm wrong?
A lot of the time,
they were
I
giants.
believe
So they
I'm
were
sure
larger
there was like
than...
not giant ones, but yeah.
Yeah.
And crazy thing,
They found
do you know that-
big skulls.
yeah, they found stuff. But
Yeah.
do you know the story of David and Goliath?
Yep.
So David the boy and Goliath the giant. Who
What was in the sling, Johnny? Remember that? That was... but there's a... So, sorry to cut you off, but Johnny went to Venice?
No, it's in Florence.
Florence,
Yeah,
sorry.
Michelangelo's David.
Michelangelo's David, where the sling he was holding, no one knows whether that's a sling or what was in it. Is that
Yeah, there's a story that they reckon that the sling that he's holding in the statue has got a very conspiratorial story behind it as to what it actually is or what's
Sure.
in the sling or what he used. in the
what,
sling.
how he was able to take out Goliath, essentially. Yeah.
Anyway, fun fact: he is of bloodline. So they can track it and trace it. And I'm not doing this justice because I don't know the facts on it. There are the facts on it that Goliath was of that bloodline. So he was Nephilim, like later generation Nephilim.
I thought you were going to say he was a Clinton.
Well, I haven't got to that part of the story. No.
Well, have you heard of Zachariah Sitchin and like Anunnaki and Nephilim and that stuff as well? How
Aliens.
Oh, see, that's
No. Yeah, I have.
how we were almost created to mine gold. Now that's a very far fetched thing, but you know. But Nephilim, they were these I guess half gods. They weren't full blooded, right? But they were descendants of gods.
So, just jumping. So, are we kind of saying here that disregard Scientology, but is the idea of like extraterrestrials and aliens part of religious belief?
So my take on what I can work out of it, and this is Adam's take, I reckon that there is, like, if, let's suppose that there's a God, let's suppose that there's creation, let's suppose heaven and hell, that whole paradigm, right? Let's suppose that the fallen angels came down and were with women and had children and kind of infiltrated the humans. I'm just listening to myself.
I love it.
Let's suppose all of that.
Yep.
I reckon that heaven, like if Earth's physical, I think heaven is not. In terms of like, I think the whole dimension thing, the whole moving in and out of planes of like what we know and what we don't know, I think there's that going on. And so I think there's the ability for that stuff in that dimension to come into ours and do whatever and be in and out.
Yep.
I reckon aliens, that whole thing is that. I reckon ghosts is also that.
Yep.
Yeah.
So what I will say is the biblical take on it, from what I kind of see, like I can kind of put together, is potentially that could be what's going down.
Yep. Okay. I just want to say one thing. I used to be very big into aliens. After a while, from my research, I know that sounds silly, but after, probably 12 years of being really into aliens, I actually came to the more scary potential fact that a lot of it is terrestrial and a lot of it is us with technology.
Yeah.
But I do believe that if alien or alien-like things were to exist, they would not be in this plane. They would be,
sure.
but they would need.
Old mate here's
old mate's gonna shit himself.
He's gonna have a breakdown.
Sometimes they need conduits in order to host on.
Okay.
So therefore you get things like demonic activity. I think some would say that aliens and demons are one and the same thing.
Sure.
So yeah. Anyway, go on.
Yeah, but this is whole, like, it seems to be mixing the whole science and religion idea. If you talk about science, talk about multiverses and how existence can exist in the same point in time as another part of existence. And this is always something that I always thought, I don't really believe in ghosts. Apart from my Italian experience about ghosts or any kind of demonic type stuff, which that was fucking freaky as shit.
Yeah.
But even with aliens, and I love the idea of aliens, and I always think, well, maybe it's not actually possible. But when you see all these scientific things talking about multi-dimensions, and that's where I started having the idea that what if everything does sort of exist overlapping in different dimensions, and through certain, I mean, we talk about, I like to think about the whole idea of frequencies and stuff, which is keeping matter together and all these bits and pieces. Like, what if there's these little doorways, little glitches in these multiverses, frequencies that allow this movement between them, which essentially would explain what we call paranormal or extraterrestrial shit. Like,
Yeah, sure.
I think
I'm freaking myself. I just gave myself chills.
so going back to your original question, are we confusing X and Y?
No, I'm not saying confusing. I'm feeling like it's almost like the idea.
Do you think they're opposing? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying that they're together.
Yeah.
It's like a mix.
That's
like
what I was going to say.
Yeah,
and going back to what I said before, I think like this is why like I kind of everything I'm saying is like my perspective and what I've kind of sussed out in my own thing. I'm not saying that this is how all Christians think. I'm a weird guy. I love stuff. You know what I mean? And so, but what? Yes, so specific.
I love stuff.
That's what I was saying before. Is like science doesn't need to oppose what I believe.
Yeah.
I just think like we just flipping don't know everything. Like we never will.
Yeah.
The one thing, this was another a good YouTube video that I watched. It's just called like the a time lapse of the future, and it's narrated by that British physicist. He's always on
Jeremy Clarkson.
Not Jeremy. No, he's always on like the that Q&A. Fuck, I can't remember his name now. I have to I'll find something. But it essentially goes through the timeline of the universe from essentially what they assume to be the Big Bang to now, and then what they predict is going to happen to the entire universe, to the point that they were like 300 trillion years in the future. First of all, how they say like the speck of the human race. And that's something that a lot of people talk about, as how the human race is just a speck in time, like almost does not register. But then, you know, in the future, how the sun's going to expand, go supernova. Essentially, all the suns will explode. Everything will be consumed by black holes until finally the last black hole consumes everything, every particle of light, every particle of matter, till that last black hole itself disappears. And then we're essentially back to
Nothing.
And just how everything goes.
Void.
Yeah. and I sort of think, well, this idea that we have now in our speck of a lifetime of the human race, that we have a consciousness that allow people to believe in religion, believe in science, believe in whatever they want, that if the scientific idea that we are a speck and that essentially everything's going to disappear anyway, does it really have any... Well, I suppose it has a validity of now, of what we want to have, but over the speck of time...
Are you saying, like, with the inevitable future of death because of big black holes, do we have any purpose? Is that what you're asking?
Kind of, yeah, I guess. Because, to me, when I think about it, it's like, yes, we have the purpose now for us. It's for us at this time that the human race exists. Mm-hmm. But in the scope of existence, of matter, of everything that creates life, how does it go? Like we start from nothing. I think we go through this time and then we become nothing.
I think just like conspiracies and stuff, if you fall down that rabbit hole, there is a fearful element to that to that way of thinking as well. I think a lot of science, the one pitfall I see of a lot of science is that it gets people questioning about purpose and the fact that we may be insignificant. You know, we're one in trillions of this and that.
That becomes an argument of...
I don't mind to that.
Is science actually telling us the truth? Or is it purposely trying to make us feel insignificant? Like, how do they have these... How can they see in, trillions and trillions and trillions of years in the future as to what's going to happen to matter, to the stars, to the universe, to what essentially. I mean,
They can't.
They can't. Yeah, that's what they. Yeah,
They can't.
I think that they can't. It's all Yeah.
but is it? Because we look at astronomy. We see stars. We've seen stars go supernova. We know that stuff happens.
I think everything will end in fire. As
That's very biblical. Yeah, because it's not the flood anymore. Is this the second or third time? This will be by fire, right?
so as heavy as this sounds and as solemn, I think is the word. That's pretty much what it says.
Yeah.
So whether that's we nuke ourselves, whether that's the sun explodes, whether a meteorite hits us and wipes us out, whatever that looks like, I think it's pretty. I reckon it's probably gonna happen.
So you think it's by fire this time? It was water last time, right? The Great Flood.
Yeah. Essentially.
That was what Neil.
I mean,
worked out.
yeah.
Yeah.
It depends, like, how much do you want to unpack, how much do you want to talk about
know,
it.
yeah.
But, like...
A lot of my friends say specifically as well, fire this time,
In a nutshell,
not water. Yeah.
Can I just? I don't mean any receive
I won't receive any,
but
man.
How dare you?
So you're aware of that the photo came out of the black hole
Yeah,
that was
100%.
released. Yeah. Did that have any kind of impact on your belief? Like, how do you
No.
perceive that kind of?
Yeah, sure.
Information,
It's
I
part
guess.
of the universe. So, like we live in a universe. And again, like, hear me carefully. This isn't like using it as like a crutch, but like, again, in the Bible, it says, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And when I hear the heavens, I think, if there's a God who's outside time and space, I think the universe probably does go forever. And I think everything that can happen and go nuts and into these amazing black holes and flipping galaxies and why is it a surprise that all of that stuff can happen?
Yeah.
That's
Why?
that doesn't have to oppose anything. It if anything, it speaks to the beauty of creation and everything that is. How you see a mountain, or you see a volcano, or you see a thunderstorm, or you see a flower, or and you're just man, that's insanely beautiful.
Insane. Yeah.
And it's perfect in all of its imperfection. It's so perfect in all of its rawness, and it's in all of its chaotic. I remember when I was living in New South Wales, there was this cyclone that came and absolutely. We lived in this small coastal town called Port Stephens, which is about, I can't remember if it's north or south of Newcastle by an hour. It's this beautiful, the beaches there are absolutely insanely beautiful, way better than WA beaches. And WA has some awesome beaches. Raw, beautiful. Anyway, this crazy, crazy storm came, and we were on the second or third floor of an apartment where we were living. And it was flooded outside. If you go out, there was water in the bottom of the thing. You walk out into the street, there was a BMW. I've got the photo underwater, so I could see the roof of this BMW, and someone just abandoned it.
Yeah.
The cafe where I was working as a barista, just obliterated, completely trashed. And in the midst, when we had no power, we had no hot water, we had no gas, we had nothing. We were just in complete chaos. We were bunkered up in our apartment room, and I was like, do you want to go outside? There's this cyclone going on crazy. And she's like, yeah, cool, let's go. So we basically just put on some boardies, and we just went out into the most and just stood there. The sky was purple. There was constant lightning, thunder, just chaos, absolute chaos. But in that was just immense beauty. The feeling of just this is nuts.
Yeah.
And
it's nature.
Yeah. And it's just that that's what I feel when I see that. I was just
Yeah.
that is sick. That is so cool. And it doesn't.
But like you said, not mutually exclusive. It doesn't mean that you can't have all these things without.
And
something
to briefly
outside of it,
touch on what you said before, the whole dimensions and multiverse. I reckon there is something in that. I reckon heaven. I think there is that whole thing that we can and can't. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Did you ever get into Nikola Tesla at all? Were you a big?
I've kind of sussed some stuff out.
Yeah, yep. Because he always said that Earth is a realm.
Okay.
Like this is actually a like we were talking about, a dimension or a plane.
Yeah, right.
As opposed to there's a dozen ways to extrapolate that, but I like to think it's more than just a hard rock in space. It's actually you need to be on this frequency in order to experience this.
Yeah, 100%. And like the whole what's the thing? The flat plane illustration.
Yeah.
Like that totally opened my eyes. It's not a conspiracy.
Yeah.
Because you think about
old maps were flat. Because some would say, okay, because they didn't know the real structure.
Oh wait, are we going?
No.
Arm out.
No, the Earth's round. Anyone that's listening, the Earth is a globe, and that's the end of it.
Or is it? We're gonna need a whole nother podcast.
No. But
so like, we can't measure time. I can't see it. I can't taste it. Can't smell it. I can't put it in a box, but it's there. Mm-hmm. And it's sure as hell there tomorrow. And like everything in reality proves that it's there, right? So that whole concept of time as a dimension makes me understand that there would be other dimensions that I cannot fathom. And so the whole thing of like you push a pencil through a piece of paper, that whole illustration, and what they would see and what that would mean, I think it totally applies.
Yeah.
I think there's totally weight to that.
Yep.
Well, you think about what with the CERN's particle smasher, where they essentially they're trying to create they create antimatter. They actually stockpile antimatter in Geneva
in little glass vials.
Yeah, little glass vials. They've got a whole warehouse full of antimatter.
Mate, do you want to buy some antimatter? We've got a whole fucking truck of it, mate. Yeah.
But the fact that science does that they create atoms that appear and then disappear, and appear and disappear. Like, where do they go? Where do they come from? In a sense, like I look and go, that's could be considered a form of magic. Like, for how do things just like appear, disappear? Where do they go?
Yeah,
do they even exist?
I just think it's a rearrangement. So you can't make something out of nothing. Like, you can't.
What do you think of the whole simulation theory thing? Is that like, because it's an interesting theory, but I personally don't.
Simulation theory in terms of like, is like, let's just address the pink elephant in the room. Let's use the Matrix as an example. Is like that simulation theory?
Well, the idea that reality itself is almost like a computer-like construct.
And we're in it right now?
And we're in it right now.
I don't really care.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like, truthfully, it doesn't change how I love my wife, how I love my kids, how I go to work, how I dress, how I eat, how I communicate with people around me. It doesn't change what I believe.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, and not using that as a cop-out, but it just doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter, yeah, of course. But as a theory, like
if in 20 minutes time Morpheus wakes me up, I'm going to be annoyed. Like, if he unplugs me and I wake up to that hellhole, I'm going to be pretty annoyed.
Welcome to the real world.
Yeah, you're going to be the guy struggling to get back in.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Like,
you'd be Cypher. You'd be like, plug me back in. Yeah. But I think...
Cool concept.
Cool concept. And then, like, when I allow myself to go down that road of a simulation, what would God be in that? Like, I think the way we connect to servers is a lot like how it would be.
You feel it when you go to church. When you pay your taxes.
So imagine that at the end, you know how they always talk about judgment with God, right? If I were to fit that into simulation theory, I would see it as you come out of the server.
The unplugging.
You're actually in the lobby of the server. Literally. And like they go through the history of what you did and went, sorry, you're going to be plugged back. You're going to respawn. You got to do it again, man. Like that is what I see as the judgment for simulation. But
well, I mean, I've started to think in the most egotistical religious sense that I am my own God. And you know, like, if there's anyone that you have to prove something to, anything you have to do for someone, it's for yourself, really.
Yeah.
You know, if anyone's going to judge it, it's yourself, and that's the way I kind of have started to look at things.
So you're a Satanist, basically.
Do what thou wilt.
I'm my own worst sinner. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
A comment on that from a Christian perspective. You don't start talking about judgment to people who, like, when I say that word Christian, I mean like the normal ones. We're not normal at all. Like, no, I mean like not the loopy psychopaths. I just mean like the real people, right? They know full well you don't start talking about fire and brimstone and this and that and blah, blah, blah. Like, no one ever reacts. Like, no one reacts well if you come at them aggressively hostile, telling them this, and this, and like you're telling them all the reasons why they suck. That's not what Jesus did.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and if the word Christian means Christ-like or follower of Christ, right? So if you're calling yourself a Christian and you're doing that, you need to be aware of the whole picture. Like, so what the Bible does say about like the end from the beginning, but the Bible says like we were created in his image, in his likeness. He was pleased with what he saw. He wants a relationship with us. He sent Jesus for our sake. That says to me that like that's the stuff you want to be talking about, because that's the stuff that people would be yearning to want to know about, as opposed to, hey, my name's Adam and this is all the reasons why God hates you and I hate, like it doesn't.
Yeah. Is it the same way of like yelling about 9/11, saying like, you know, the government fucking brought down 9/11, like, rather than throwing something straight in there, it's more of an ease of information type thing? Or?
Yeah, but I think you're identifying with the bigger picture rather than dwelling on like the
impending doom of the entire universe.
Exactly, which doesn't help, right?
I'm joking.
But it's true. You want to actually you want to empower people, not disempower. You don't want to feel like they're helpless. Like, oh shit, I've done something wrong.
The Bible says that God's looking for a relationship with me, right?
Yep.
And he loves me and he wants a relationship with me. And I want other people to feel what that's like.
Yep.
That should be my sole purpose, is to connect people with God. It shouldn't be about me whatsoever. It shouldn't be about an agenda. Like, that's where religion gets in and like kills everything. As a Christian, my job, if I'm supposed to have one, should be to connect people with God.
Yep. No more, no less. It's just,
if you want to chat and like ask about like X, Y, and Z and what's this and what, like, sure. But like, if you don't have that as the primary goal, to point people to God or point people to Jesus or whatever, then like, I don't know.
Is it blasphemous for a non-religious person to talk? I suppose it's hard, like, in a negative sense about a religion that they're not part of.
So ask the question a different way.
Like if I just said I'm going to hell,
is that blasphemous?
Yes.
But doesn't, like, it's like the black hole thing. Like, yeah. I guess. Does it bother me? Like, you can say what you want.
Yeah.
To me personally, like, someone can say, I identify as an oak tree, and like, there's nothing you can tell me that's any different. I'll go, okay, like, whatever.
Yeah.
Do what you want, man.
yeah.
But it's not like offensive in a way if you hear someone say, "Oh, I'm going to hell."
No.
But for someone that's kind of not sort of pulling the piss on religion, but sort of making a reference to something that they're not.
When I hear someone say that,
if you're a real person, no, that shouldn't.
If I hear someone say that, I just like inside of me, there's that part that goes, "Man, I wish they knew God like I know him." That's it.
Yep.
I just want. That's it. I like.
Yep.
The guys like. Yeah, I don't know how religious you wanted your podcast to get, like how as a word. I didn't
this
know.
can go. There's absolutely no restriction on this, so we just let it fucking roll.
It's exploring ideas. The way I like to think it. Yeah.
Jesus, when he's on the cross, he's been nailed to the cross, right? And there's guys who are like, mocking him, or like they're doing all these different things, and he says to God, he goes, "Forgive them, for they don't know what they're doing," which is like sinning.
Yeah.
But that was his heart. He was like, they don't know any better. Like, don't take it out on them, because that's how you're supposed to be as a Christian.
Yeah.
Like, forgive them. And it's not a self-righteousness either. It shouldn't be that either. It's not, I'm better than you, so therefore I have the ability to like stoop down to, like, it's not that.
Yeah. It's almost like, I'm sorry that you feel that way.
Not even that. It's just like, they don't know. Like,
They don't know any
it's
better,
like there's another verse that's like, when I was a child, I drank milk. When I grow up, I have to have bread and meat or whatever. And it's like, it's that whole thing. Like, if you don't know, you don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was so naive when I was younger that I actually thought the whole Jesus thing was an entire story, until I actually find documentaries that they say there is actually, that person was actually a person.
Yeah.
And I was just like,
yeah.
well, I have nothing anymore.
But yeah. Do you also think that there's, like that, going back to that Zeitgeist movie, that there's also a combination that he might not have just been a physical person, but there were all these allegories that were made with astrology, like things like that. It's kind of a
Adam and Eve were plants.
no, not that. But there's
I've never heard of that.
You never heard that idea?
No.
That Adam and Eve was actually vegetation, and the whole stemming with, like, they grew from one plant, and then like a plant fell down and grew. And
no, I haven't heard that, but
but
you know how there's a lot of
Are you asking me, do I think, like, how there's other religions and other gods, do I think that all of them are just basically saying the same thing? Is that what you're asking?
Not necessarily, but I'm just saying that there's a lot of, like, for example, the Bible was written, what was the original? It was in ancient Hebrew, right? Initially.
Yeah, and then translated to the Greek, I think. And then,
but I'm saying that there's probably, there's so much more encoded, way deeper than just the words, like
100%.
numerologically,
I think
all of that. It's a massive codex.
I don't think the Bible was like, when it says God created the heavens and the earth in 7 days, I don't think it's 7 days.
Yeah.
This is going back to the whole thing of, like, that can mean like, in the whole storytelling thing, that can mean 7 periods of time.
Yeah.
That could be a way to explain something, so humans can wrap their tiny brains around what it is.
It's the whole thing, like when I read stuff like that and I say, well, they say, it was created in 7 days, and we use our modern reference of time to say, 7 days. Yeah.
Groups.
Yeah.
Yet I always think, back then, whether it's I'm believing Bible stories or any kind of even ancient, the Egyptians and stuff, that everything was different back then.
Yeah.
Like, maybe the world actually turned slower, or maybe matter itself didn't have the same
I just see it
density
as, like,
we have now, and
seven block periods. And like, when you take
a completely different referencing.
When you take into account the separation of the sun, like the earth from the sky and the water from the land, and and then you introduce natural selection and evolution into it. Like, I don't think they have to oppose.
Yeah,
like,
they have to.
I see it as, like, almost they're both telling the same story, but like, like if you take it as, like, 7 days, like, that's pretty impressive. Like, he's God, he can do what he wants, but like, do you know what I mean? Like, I think I don't know that it's specifically 7 days.
Yeah, and he created the light and the dark.
And what is that? And what is that? Like, sun, moon, stars,
sun and
the
the moon.
universe. Yeah,
but
and when did that happen? Over how long? Like,
duality. There's always a.
Well,
you need opposing forces, so there's no light without dark, and vice versa. So holy fucking shit, Adam Stafford.
That's great.
I didn't expect it to get this deep. I don't know where we are. We're in the muddy waters.
Yeah, who knows, man? Who knows?
But I still, regardless of all what we talked about, we've gone on a roller coaster from music to conspiracies to religion. But
technology was in there.
I think it's
we managed 9/11. We got through that. I'm just glad we got out of that one.
I know. We could have been there for a while. I know, but there's a lot of questions. That's all I have. I don't ever claim to go, this is what happened? I go, that's weird. Why isn't anyone talking about that? That's literally all I'm doing. But it seems that even doing that means you're a weirdo these days. But
and like, I feel like it's worth saying that anything I've talked about is it's been it's my journey, right? And if anyone has any I'm not like putting on like a hateful bias on anyone that doesn't agree with me. That's 100% the opposite. Like, it's not that.
Yeah.
If you have questions about it, go ask someone that knows more about it than you do. That's what I do.
Google.
Yeah.
Google. Google knows more than anyone.
Yeah. But all I can say as well is if anything that we were talking about piqued your curiosity, like, just go and look at it. Don't
suss it out.
Does anyone remember Ask Jeeves?
I remember that. The old search engine?
Bing.
Ask Jeeves. Yeah.
Bing. That's still around. That's more like a freaking malware. Like, it always installs when you don't want it to.
Yeah.
That's Microsoft's Bing, isn't it? Microsoft.
Bing's Microsoft.
Who knows, man?
Who knows? But
Ask Jeeves and Yahoo and then Google.
Yep.
Wow. I still remember trying to load like Ask Jeeves on a what do we have? We had at home a Macintosh LC3, like one of the big deep box.
Ooh, that's going back.
Wow. Yeah, that's the thing. I love the fact that I grew up with computers from old black and white, big CRT.
Windows 3.1 is what I started on.
Windows for workgroups, was that 3.1?
I don't know. All I know is that someone gave me a 3.1 computer and I had like Duke Nukem and some other games.
Shit. The first Doom.
No, I wasn't allowed that.
Commander Keen. Oh, you weren't allowed to. Yeah, you weren't allowed Doom?
Oh, no. I meant like when I had a 3.1, I was like 5 or 6.
Okay, yeah. True.
And it was a hand-me-down, so it was like whatever was left.
I was funny that I started on my computer journey started with Macs, and I will never ever touch one again.
Why? What's wrong with you?
I just don't like the way it's designed.
Okay.
No.
And you felt the need to tell everyone that?
No. It was funny because like I'm literally almost just having like flashbacks now as a kid, just around computers,
raging at your old Mac.
Thinking about the old computers we used to have, and now I'm sitting here with these two, thin monitor, 27-inch monitors with a whole big tower and stuff like mobile phones. And remember the days of just having these small little box computers that would not fucking do shit.
Yeah,
just crazy.
I'd love to get my hands on one and make music out of some of that stuff. Like some of the sounds. That would be so cool.
Yeah.
Old MIDI soundtracks.
Not even that, man. Like sampling the sound of when you turn it on and the hard drive, like turning on.
Sampling the sound of your internet dialer, dialing into the mobile.
That's been done before.
I'm talking about the actual hard drive going, oh, I've got power. Like that sound, the physical movement sound.
Yeah.
Not the electronic sound.
Okay, just before we go, have you seen Mark Zuckerberg eating a piece of toast?
No.
Okay, let's pull it up for 30 seconds, alright?
Why are we doing this?
Okay. It's just fucking funny.
Okay,
it's just for 2 seconds.
Is this an auditory video, or is this just...
People are going to have to watch the YouTube, but we'll cut it up and put it on our socials so people will see it. So
right.
Just put on second one CNN.
This one?
Yep. And just forward it to about like 40 seconds.
Oh, Zucks.
Alright, let's have a look.
Jarvis knows when to make me breakfast.
Your toast is ready.
Alright. It's time for my call with Shrek. Can you get him on the video conference line?
Setting up the DC room now. Remember to check on the AI guidance system for Aquila.
One of the best things about Jarvis...
Tell me that's not a lizard! That's a lizard! That's a lizard eating a piece of toast, for sure.
Yeah, he...
Go back to where he eats the toast. He doesn't spread anything on it.
Call with Shrek. Can you get him on the video conference line?
Setting up the DC room now. Remember to check on the AI guidance.
That's creepy. That looked
That's
really weird.
really creepy.
That looked fucking weird.
That's really creepy.
I didn't actually look at it before.
Human food.
This is what you humans like, toast? That is weird. No human being in the world eats toast like that. I will vouch for that. If someone I was with ate like that,
Yeah.
I would ask him to leave immediately.
And as a Australian guy of 28 years old, I can also testify that is not how kitchens look.
Oh, what is that? That's fucking scary.
Guys, we're falling.
Oh, okay.
Hey, I didn't even realize that was part of it. But he's already got alien, fucking reptilian.
course he does.
This is the rabbit hole. This is what we're not going to go down. Adam, thank you so much for coming, man.
Thanks for having
Cheers.
me,
It's
guys.
been great.
Thank you
This
so
has been
much.
amazing.
That's been a good. We're a bit out of practice, so thanks for getting us back in rhythm. That's been awesome. You're going back to work, Johnny.
Yeah, I'll be here for a couple of days.
Yeah.
and off again.
Yeah, we should have. I'm not going to say if we have episodes coming up. In case they fall
we
through,
will.
but we will.
This
We'll have-
it keeps going. Yeah,
It keeps going, man. We've been doing this for a long time. We're getting a bit long in the tooth.
yeah.
It's good.
Were you surprised at how many we've done? Like, how long it's been going for?
Nah,
The first one was what, 2000?
11.
11.
something like
that's
that.
cool.
Holy
It's a good
fuck.
effort.
Yeah.
It's a good effort.
Yeah,
It's still going.
we're
Yeah.
trying to get it going more. missionctarot.com.au, the Instagrams and Twitters.
Do you want to plug anything? We're on Spotify as well, Mission Control podcast, as well as Google Podcasts, as well as iTunes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think you're about to play a song.
Yes, I am.
This is the first time it's ever been put anywhere.
Okay.
So it's technically
Exclusive.
It's an exclusive. It's technically its premiere.
Okay.
And it's a little bit different to what I usually do.
Yeah.
But if you like it, you can download it for free, and you can either share it or not. I don't care.
Amazing. So you're on
If you like
SoundCloud.
it, listen to it. If you don't,
Should we put a link in the description?
Yeah,
We can
sure.
put a link there. Yeah. And what do you call it again?
Squid Eyes.
Squid Eyes. Yep. And you can just search it on SoundCloud.
Yep.
Amazing. We're getting it exclusive. Beep, 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 beep.
Yeah, thanks again, Adam. It's been
Yeah, that's
Thanks
just
for having me,
fun.
guys. You guys
so
are
good.
rad.
Thanks, Adam.